Let's go back now to this conversation to look at why the City of Johannesburg is not appealing the recent court judgment concerning its VIP risk management policy. We do still have the spokesperson of the executive mayor, that's Chris Vondo. Chris, good afternoon again. We lost you when you were telling us about how this is a decision by the multi-party government.
Thank you very much. The context of why we're not, the city is not appealing the judgment is on the basis that there are loopholes that have been identified in the judgment, and therefore the court has directed that the City of Johannesburg need to abide within a particular time frame, in February in particular, so that we can then come back and rectify all the issues that have been raised. But as I was saying, that as a matter of context, the VIP risk management protection services is something that was introduced in 2016 by the multi-party government led by the DA. It's also surprising that the DA would have gone to the courts to go and fight their own initiative that they indicated. You'll know that the city of Johannesburg has never had a VIP protection services except the office bearers in this regard. I mean, Mayor Tau and Mayor Masondo's cabinet or mayoral committee at the time did not have these VIP services. It's only that the risk assessment would have been conducted, particularly on departments such as housing and transport, because of the volatility around how those spaces were. So we've looked at all of those issues. And of course, the function of conducting a risk assessment security threat is also a function of the South African Police Services and the security SSA, the security agency in the country, which is supposed to be conducted if there is a risk in that regard. So what this framework, what this introduction of policy in 2016 by the DA did was operational outside of a policy framework, which is against the prescripts of the council and the rules of council, which then the GLU contended with that so that they can be able to then regularize and regulate the VIP and introduce a policy. And that's what the GLU did in April this year, to introduce that policy and make council to adopt it.
I hear you. You're saying that the loopholes were recognized by the courts. Did it have to take the courts to do that?
Certainly, the council would have considered that. We're also taken aback by the fact that when there are council issues that have been raised, then the DA will then run to the courts. But of course, it would have been the function of the leadership to then be able to identify those areas. Surely the issues that have been raised around the essence of the allocation of the VIP protection services for all the executive members that have been identified, including the officials, and because of the issues of the assessment, which we are currently undertaking with the Johannesburg Metro Police Department, including these agencies that I've spoken about. So in essence, we think that the courts, if people are aggrieved, there's nothing wrong for them to go to the courts.
But what it sounds like, Chris, pardon me for coming in there. Pardon me for coming in there, right? It's one thing for people to be aggrieved. You are saying that it's the people that made the decision that took this matter to court and were aggrieved and should not have been. It's a surprise that they're even now reacting the way they are. I'm listening to what you're saying. But did it have to get to the courts? Did it have to get there? Because I ask this. If the court is finding that a risk assessment is not done properly, that already is an obvious misnomer, because one would then say, what did you base the decision on? And then council needed to then come together and say, if there's no proper risk assessment that was done, this decision is definitely not one that we should continue with to a point that now we're finding ourselves in the courts. Could it not be scrapped or halted immediately because you realized that you are agreeing with the court on this issue of risk assessment? Did it need to get to the court to tell you what you already knew?
You did not listen to me. I said
I'm listening to what
post 2016. Pre-2016, there was no decision, there was no VIP protection services MMCs. This decision of introducing VIP was done under the stewardship of the DA multi-party-led government in 2016, which operated outside of a framework.
And that
which
begs the question then, Chris, pardon me. That's exactly why I'm asking you this question. Because if you are saying that it was done outside of the prescripts, and it was done by the very people who are coming now, who were the ones that implemented this, when then the new administration comes in, can't the new administration, without even going to court, say that why did you guys do this? Because it was outside of the prescripts of the law.
The new administration raised questions and contended whether the city must continue with this service or not. Already there are VIP protections services identified. Already there are inspectors and protectors that have been allocated to the MMCs. Already there are structures that are created in the institution. Instead, the leadership then decided that let's reconsider and develop a framework, a policy framework that will then regularize and regulate these VIP protection services which operated outside of the law. And that's what has been done. Two, the risk assessment is a function that is ongoing at the Johannesburg Metropolis Department with all the councillors, including the officials that may be dealing with contending and contentious issues in the municipalities. For instance, councillors are under attack. You'll know that during the load shedding period, there would have been risks identified in respect of protests that are going to councillors. You may have known that the chief whip of the City of Johannesburg was short at a certain point. Surely these risk assessments are conducted within the Johannesburg Metropolis Department. As far as the determination of the councillors and ensuring of the ministerial handbook is concerned in respect of the VIP protection, the SABC and the security agencies do conduct those at the request of the Johannesburg Metropolis Department Public Safety to conduct that assessment. I am still retrieving, trying to check the records of decision in respect of these risk assessments because it's an ongoing process that is being undertaken in the municipality.
The DA, again, is saying to the city that they're not holding their breath because they know that these risk assessment analyses are not going to be made available. They say they're not holding their breath. In fact, for them, they'll be surprised if you even release this. What do you say?
As I said, the Public Safety Department, given the judgment and the directive, will comply with the directive of the court. That's why there's no appeal. And the reason there is no appeal is because the current leadership under Mayor Morero respects the rule of law. You might have observed his attitude towards the court decisions as far as the city's decisions, judgments are concerned. And the mayor is, I think, respects and adheres to the rule of law. So let's give the opportunity to the leadership of the executive mayor and the mayoral committee to help us navigate and see what happens post the deadline that has been presented and given to the city by the court.
So in a nutshell, I'm listening to what you're saying. You're saying they will be released.
The city, the Public Safety Department will comply with all the issues that have been identified. We do not want to use this as a political football, as others are doing. We think that we must focus on the task at hand in terms of accelerating service delivery. And these are not new inspectors. These are inspectors that are within the Johannesburg Metropolis Department. There are no 8 VIP bodyguards that are located to the executive mayor and 6 that are located to the and there are no 6 vehicles and convoys that are going around with the executive mayor at a given. There are shift systems that are implemented in the city, contrary to this misinformation and these lies that are being peddled in the public about 8 bodyguards and 6 convoy cars. It cannot be, and it's not. It's very far from the truth.
So I wonder then, have there been any financial implications when it comes to this decision to implement something that is outside the prescripts? Has the mayor established if there have been any financial implications?
These officials are part of the Johannesburg Metro Police Department. They are inspectors. They are part of this task that they are undertaking as part of the work that is being done at the Public Safety Department. There's been no new recruits of the VIP protection. These are also inspectors that are senior in the Joburg Police Department in this regard.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Appreciate it. That is Chris Vondo, the spokesperson for the executive mayor of the City of Johannesburg.